granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. Well, some of you may be aware that part of my university career was spent at Stanford University, and Cesar Chavez was one of the great figures for all the students. So I'm going to talk about that, even though we are here in Britain and some of my local subscribers won't have heard of Cesar Chavez. Believe me, he's very important to you for one reason, and the reason is he was, in a way, a revolutionary. He was a shining figure of the left, and he turned out to be not a very nice man. In fact, just a little bit rapey. So, now that the story has come out, they are trying to blot Cesar Chavez out of their history. And isn't that just typical? You know, overturning statues. Students at Bristol University took a statue of a man who, it turns out, had been tangentially associated with the slave trade. He was some sort of a local philanthropist. He had lots of businesses, and one of them was in a way associated with the slave trade. He himself was not a slave trader, that, as far as I remember. Anyway, his statue was in some public square because he'd endowed orphanages and schools and churches and all that sort of thing. And they put up a statue to him, and these kids tore the statue down and chucked it in the bay. And we thought, well, that's what the left does. They're trying to erase the history of anyone who wasn't on the left. Well, now you see how the revolution always ends up eating its own. They are now doing it to people, to their heroes on the left. So you see this guy here with a paint roller.
Necessarily represent us in our community on the wall, so we decided to erase him.
Difficult. It's about liberation. It's not about any one individual. So we have to be able to hold our leaders accountable, you know, and pivot away from them.
Right. So they're getting rid of Cesar Chavez, and what they're going to do is put a portrait of Dolores Huerta there instead. We can see the beginnings of this portrait of Dolores Huerta.
Speaking loud and like standing up for the community and like giving those.
Now, who was Dolores Huerta, you may ask? Well, this is her. You see what a firebrand she is, fist up, all for the workers, a strong woman, as someone you could follow, someone you could have trust in. Turns out that Cesar Chavez, her colleague in arms, was a little bit rapey with her and forced 2 pregnancies on her, and she kept quiet about it. Apparently she never told them or anyone else that they were the result of him sexually abusing her. At nearly 96, she still uses her platform to advocate for marginalised groups and fight discrimination. Yeah, but not for the safety of women, by the looks of things. So it shocked the world Wednesday when Huerta revealed that she was sexually abused by the movement's co-founder, Cesar Chavez, leading to the birth of 2 children, a secret she kept for 60 years. Now some are calling for Huerta's name to replace Chavez on the plethora of government buildings, schools, monuments and streets that bear his name across the country. Well, no, I don't think Huerta deserves that. She kept quiet about a monster, and all in the name of the movement. Now, why did Dolores Huerta not say anything about this? Well, in my opinion, there are 2 reasons. The first is she didn't want to make waves in the movement, and the second is I think she was just worried about not being believed. That is, if she accused Chavez of what he'd done and what he was doing to other women as well, some of them, I believe, underage, so we can't call them women. She knew that the left would fall in on her like the sky falling in, that she would be completely ostracized, and she would be called, well, I'll tell you what would happen to her, because it happened here in Britain, and it happened in 2013. And it's known as the Comrade Delta incident. And what happened was a woman complained to the Socialist Workers' Party about having been sexually abused by one of their number. So instead of reporting it to the police, they held a central committee meeting. Now, I made some notes here. And then when this woman reported what had happened, other women came forward. As is often the case, this fellow did not just attack one woman, he was a serial abuser of his position. And it says here, women reporting the abuse were reportedly told to keep quiet for the good of the party and to protect the reputation of the socialist organisation. The women were questioned by this central committee, and the central committee asked them a lot of personal questions that had nothing to do with the attacks on them. Now, just a minute, what did it say? The party handled it via an internal disputes committee, described by critics as a kangaroo court, and victims faced hostile questioning about drinking, sexual history, and consent. The committee didn't rule on the rape claim itself. It issued a mild suspension and warned everyone against speaking out. But the thing is that the women themselves, most of them just kept quiet, just like Dolores Huerta did. And you wonder why. And again, there's a couple of reasons. The first is they out of loyalty to the party. And the second thing is out of fear. Well, first of all, they'd be ostracized, and they weren't strong enough to sustain that sort of being thrown out into the outer darkness. But the other thing is they knew that nobody would believe them. The Guardian would be writing nasty articles about them. The Socialist Worker Party would be circulating all sorts of horrible stories. It operates like the mafia, doesn't it? This is not unique to socialism. Okay, you find it in churches. You find it in Hollywood. But mind you, that's a socialist organisation, isn't it? You find it in unions. Yeah, so it tends to be more in socialist, this sort of thing tends to be more hidden in socialist organisations. Let me know why they should be more prone to this than other organisations. My theory is that the left, anyone on the left, is convinced that he or she is the good guy. If you're on the left, if you're a socialist, if you're in a union, if you're in Hollywood, you are the good guy. So, by definition, you or your good guy colleagues can't do anything wrong. So, sexual abuse among your colleagues, it's an oxymoron. You can't have that and that because you're good guys. It's like trying to imagine a round square. You can't do it. It just doesn't exist. So that's why a socialist who comes up against the evil that men do, they can't admit it to the wider world because they can't admit it to themselves. So, I'd say if you want to boil down all the sins of humanity to just one sin, it's moral certainty. If you have moral certainty, then you can not only get away with anything, but you can do it with a clean conscience. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Cesar Chavez. Another one bites the dust. And we have another rewriting of history as yet another sinner who can't be hidden anymore is erased from the books. It's such a cliche to talk about 1984, isn't it? But that's what Winston Smith did for a living. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.